Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments both socially and politically that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, well, we also write thought pieces on our website, and we actually just dropped a thought piece this past Sunday. So definitely be sure to meander over to the site and check out our content. If you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 10 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure. So definitely be sure to check out the links that we've provided you in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Allô, allô, les meufs et les mecs. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental health. Now, today's topic of discussion is a bit of a philosophical one, and I pose this thought experiment to you. So definitely reserve judgment, hear my full argument. I have 3 specific arguments that I'm here to give you about how it is that we create the world that we want, right? And also, by that same measure, we also create a world that we don't want, based strictly on what we pay attention to. And some of us haphazardly create an existence that is entirely unsatisfactory simply because we're paying attention to the wrong things. And I've mentioned in a few videos at this point that thoughts are very powerful, words are very powerful. The things that we pay attention to, we give power and energy to, and that can create a reality that is either aligned to a reality that we want or a reality that isn't. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of our attention, and I want to talk about the power of attention because we typically get what we pay attention to. We get what we're looking for. There is this one saying, if you look for evil, you'll find it. And I think it's the same thing. If you look for good, you'll find it. And I think that our filter, the way that we view the world around us, is strictly based on the things that we have made multiple choices over time to attend to. And we can choose to pivot that at any juncture in our lives. The moment that we've had enough of feeding into a specific reel, especially if that reel has not been beneficial to our mental health, we can start taking the measures required to make shifts and pivots. And this is really necessary to align our thinking life, to align our emotional life to the best case scenario that aligns to us, right? To the way that we want to think and feel on a day-to-day basis. So I'm here to provide 3 perspectives on this argument. And my first one is you get what you are looking for. And this is really a point on the power of perspective. No matter what the situation looks like, right? No matter the circumstance, no matter what the situation is you claim and reclaim power on the perspective that you choose to take. And you can choose a perspective that's either going to limit you and have a negative impact on your mental health, or you can choose a perspective that's going to push you, that's going to help grow you, that's at least going to encapsulate you in such a way where it's not detrimental to your mental health, but you get what you look for. And I think this is super important, and it's something that I think even if you work in specific domains, like if you work, let's say, in policing, and you think about eyewitness cases, if you think about the varying degrees of versions of stories that people tell on one given situation, it is a true depiction on the power of perspective. Every one of us watching this video can look at the same scene, but because of how we've conditioned our attention, we're going to draw very different details from that scene. And if those details are pertinent, it's confusing for someone as a third party to just sort through all of the different ways of looking that we bring to the table when our perspective is really going to help bring some subject to fruition. So I just want us to take a moment and think about what it is we attend to, what it is that we pay attention to, and if whether or not the things that we often find our minds gravitating towards or drifting off towards is in alignment with our mental health or not. And if it's not, we need to think about, well, how do I make the adjustments required? And it doesn't need to be night and day. It can be just small, minute little shifts and adaptations that you make so that your thinking life, your emotional life, your mental life is in alignment with what you want to see in the world around you, because you have that choice. Your perspective isn't just something that you've inherited. I think maybe at first, based on the environment that we were raised in, but at some point we can critique our environment objectively and decide, you know what, I would prefer to go through life with this new perspective that is in better alignment with the mental health life, the mental health frame that I think best fits me in the long run. So that's the first perspective that I want us to think of. The second perspective is life happens to each of us. We make the most of it. Make the most out of everything that life throws at you. And life can throw curveballs. It can throw great balls. I'm not super proficient in baseball terminology, so I caught myself there. But life will give you a lot. And I think that it's important that we recognize that life happens to each and every single one of us. And we also retain the choice to decide if whether or not the things that life throws at us is going to make us or break us. And I say always make the choice to have the things that you go through be things that make you and not break you. And that doesn't mean that you're not temporarily out of commission. It doesn't mean that you're not temporarily taking a moment to restore, but you're always going to make the commitment to yourself that whatever it is that life throws at you, no matter how rough or how tough it is or how bitter of a pill it is to swallow, you are going to make the most of it. That situation is going to be something that you reflect on it in the future and be like, I am proud of the way that I showed up for myself as I was going through that given situation. I'm relatively naive, and I think it's getting better with time and with, much experience garnished. There's a lot about this life that I recognize that I don't know. And there's a lot about this life that I've been exposed to, especially in the last recent years, that have been really just a tailspin, just a whirlwind of activity. And not all of it has been great. In fact, some of it has been truly just eye-opening by way of the world and the varying degrees of realities that can exist in one world and the ways that people can kind of shut off to certain things and be open to other things. And I've been exposed to a lot in a fairly short period of time. And I think one of the reasons why I'm unshaken, like I'm still pushing through certain situations, but I feel fairly rounded, is because I understood at a very young age, life happens to everyone. No one is a special target for life to be particularly badly. I think life hands us our own platter of challenges, our own platter of obstacles, but also our own platter of opportunities, of accomplishments. Life has a little bit of something different, like a fruit salad of different events for each and every one of us, and it's up for us to decide to make the most of it, to be an active active participant in the way that we live our lives and make it a reciprocal exchange. So if life is handing us lemons, you say make lemonade. Like, let's say they're really, really bitter lemons, you still make a point to make that lemonade, and you let yourself grow, you let yourself transform through that process if you're going through a very challenging time. And challenging times, honestly, they translate very differently for each of us, but what they do for all of us is it gives us an opportunity to be stronger, to show up better, to be wiser, and to even support others by preventing them from going through it in the future. And so the last point that I want to make by way of our attention and the power of our attention in creating the world that we want around us in order to support our mental health is know when to look elsewhere. And I think that this is super important because as we go through life, we course in and out of different communities, different groups, we outgrow and grow into just different settings. And I think that as adults, it needs to be much more intentional. It's not life and life milestones that are forcing you to kind of circulate through these different groups and these different communities and different settings. We have to make that call for ourselves based on our growth or based on how people are presenting to us. And for me, I've realized that it's important to understand when to look elsewhere when where you're looking isn't actually satisfying you in the way that you thought that it would, isn't actually benefiting you in the way that you thought it would, isn't supporting you, isn't nourishing you the way that you thought it would, right? So this, a lot of the time, especially in adulthood, has to do with the communities that we stay connected to. This has to do with the relationships that we still feed into, that we still carry value. I mean, if it's not reciprocated, learn to look elsewhere. If you're in an environment that's taking more from you than it's giving you, learn to look elsewhere. If you are dealing with people who want from you but don't have anything to provide in return by way of just mutuality and reciprocity, then learn to look elsewhere. Don't allow yourself to be abused, essentially, as you get older. Don't become complacent in life. When you see that it no longer serves you anything, and I'm specifically focused on relationships right now because that's kind of at the forefront of my mind. But when you realize that, these communities, these relationships, these friendships, they no longer serve you. And in truth, they didn't serve you for a long time. And you kind of held on to things that were arbitrarily significant to you, like the sentimental value lost its significance a while ago. Then learn to let it go and to give yourself an opportunity to drop the dead weight and move forward. And I think this is really important, and it's hard. It's a bitter pill to swallow when you realize that people that you held dear are just not who they once were, or you just aren't who you once were, or aren't able to carry what it is that you're carrying at this point in time. And that means that, these relationships no longer serve you, right? And if you only have relationships with people who want to be around you when things are going well for you, it rubs off on them. But the moment things are going badly for you, they're nowhere to be found. These are relationships that never served you to begin with. I think those are my top 3 just things to ponder. I think that that's what this video is about, because I think that these areas have a huge role to play in our mental health. The way we manage and navigate these areas has a huge role to play in our mental health. And I think that we need to take a much more active role in managing these areas and in deciding how it is that we navigate these areas in our lives in order to be in alignment with where we put our time, where we put our attention, so that our actions are aligned with what we know is best for us by way of our mental health. In any case, that's it for today's segment. I hope that it gives you something to think about as you drink your evening tea or whatever beverage you drink as we wind down tonight. And yeah, I think that this is really important, and it's super straightforward. It's simple, but it's something we often overlook. Oftentimes we're very complacent by way of just tolerating the things that are actually ebbing away and cannibalizing in our mental health bit by bit. And I think if we are just more active about those little details, it can create a significant improvement. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we plan on going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to join in on our live events. Now, these events are paid events, but if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I suggest you look into our package plans. We have something for everyone, and they give you unlimited access to these live events and also access to our workshops and webinars over and above the live events. So definitely be sure to check that out, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Some days I just feel like no one's listening. Some days